My silver stacking game has absolutely changed. Over the last 5 or 6 months, we have seen premiums absolutely plummet from where they were in 2023. And as a result, I have made major shifts in what I've been stacking and the types of silver that I've been avoiding. So what I thought I would do today is show you 3 types of silver that I am stacking more of and 3 types of silver that I am stacking less of, because the premiums are down. So do me a favor, go down below and make sure you are subscribed. It really helps me out. And many people are watching my channel and don't realize they're not subscribed yet. So I'd greatly appreciate it. And let's get into it. So the first type of silver I want to start with today, and to be honest with you, this is probably the thing I'm stacking the most of. And it's also probably one of the most popular things to stack in the US and maybe even in the world, is your generic 1 ounce silver round. Now, what I mean by generic is that it's not minted by a sovereign nation. So for example, the US Silver Eagle being minted by the US means that it's a sovereign coin with a face value and is legal tender in that country, whereas these are just minted by a private mint. So for example, this one is minted by the Golden State Mint. Now, as you can see, this is marked 1 troy ounce 99 silver, and that is exactly what it is. These are 999 fine silver, and they generally come in the size of 1 ounce, and they're called a round because, well, they're round. Now, like I said, the reason that these are so popular is that premium is a lot lower on these than it is, say, a Silver Eagle. And so for that reason, if you were to go out and spend, let's say, just for an example, this is probably inaccurate when you watch this, but let's just say $500 is going to get you 20 of these, but only 18 or 17 Silver Eagles, that means you just left with 3 more ounces of silver just by getting them generic. Now, one of the bad things about stacking silver rounds is they are easy to fake, and there are a lot of fake ones out there. And the reason that these are easier to fake than basically any other type of silver is because they are minted by a multitude of different private mints, and each one of them has their own variation to the design. So if you take a look at these 3, this one has more of a proof finish, this one has like a raised background finish, and this one has more of a BU finish, and you can see that on the reverse of each one of these rounds as well. Each one of these are minted by a different private mint, but all 3 of them are real. Now take a look at them from the side, and you can actually see that this bottom one has a larger diameter than the middle one and the top one, and the reason for that is that this one is a little bit thinner, which means for it to be 1 ounce, it would have to be a little bit bigger in diameter. Now, with Silver Eagles, for example, or let's say Maple Leafs or Kangaroos, you can actually test them with a pair of calipers and a scale because they have a specific diameter, a specific thickness, and if they weigh properly and they have that same thickness and diameter, then you know that it's real. And the reason that works is because to make a fake Silver Eagle, for example, if you want it to weigh exactly what it's supposed to weigh, but not be silver, it is going to have a different diameter or thickness than a real one. And I have never in my life seen a fake Silver Eagle that had the same exact thickness, weight, and diameter of a real one. I have never seen one in my decades of stacking silver. So that is a big negative to one of these because of the different variations in design. You have to find a different way to test them. One thing I recommend is using the Pocket Pinger and a Pingcoin app on your phone. You can get a Sigma Pro to test these, or just make sure you're buying them from a reputable source like our sponsor SD Bullion. And if you guys didn't know, SD Bullion is currently doing a full monster box giveaway of their 1 ounce silver Tree of Life series, and you can get your entry right now at sdbullion.com/sweepstakes. You should definitely take advantage of that today because they do this every single year. So even though you have all year to enter, now is the time you should do it. So go over there and do that now. All right, let's check out our next type of silver. Now, the next type of silver that I absolutely love to be able to stack again, now that the premiums are coming down, I'm adding more of this to my deep stack, is 90% silver. That is your dimes, quarters, and half dollars, 1964 and older. Now, I, for a while, was staying away from this stuff because the premiums were astronomical. Just to give you an example, last year, let's say March, April, May, June of 2023, there was a time where some retailers wanted 30 times face. That is $30 per dollar. Now, if you take that and multiply that by 1.4 to get the 1 ounce price, and if you didn't know, if you take whatever you're paying for this and you multiply it by 1.4, that is how much you're paying per ounce. That's $42 per ounce. when silver was trading for 22, 23, you were paying nearly or over $20 an ounce over spot for this stuff. Whereas today, it is now trading for 18 times face. That is so much better. That is like 25 and change per ounce compared to over $40 an ounce less than a year ago. So I'm happy to be able to add this to my deep stack once again. I am continuing to buy more while the prices and premiums are low. Now, one of my favorite things about 90% silver, guys, is that it is fractional. So let's say you don't need to sell a full ounce of silver. You just need 10 bucks for something. You can just sell a $0.50 or 5 dimes or 2 quarters or whatever it may be. It is already divided. There is a uniform math for this. So in other words, you have 0.715 ounces per dollar. That means you can take 2 quarters and 5 dimes, 2 $0.50, 1 $0.50 and 2 quarters. However you add it up, you have about 0.715 ounces of silver per dollar face. So you know what the math is, you know that it's already fractional, and it is just a wonderful thing to stack. I also love the history of 90% silver. I mean, these Walking Liberties right here are absolutely gorgeous. One of the most beautiful US coin designs that we have. Certainly a lot better than just putting old dead presidents on them. At least that's what I think. So yes, 90%. I'm really excited to be able to continue to add to my deep stack. Note that the premiums are lower. Make sure you look around for those deals because, man, there are some great ones on 90 right now. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not telling you what to do, but I am certainly taking advantage. All right, the third type of silver that I'm stacking more of right now with the premiums and spot prices being lower is absolutely sovereign silver. Take a look. We have, for example, the Australian kangaroo. Right here, we have some 2024 silver eagles, and even the Great Britain Britannia, which, by the way, I absolutely love the design of the Britannia. There are so many things about it that I adore. But all three of these types of silver right now, the premiums on these, like I've been talking about, have been plummeting. Silver Eagles around a year ago, you had an average of $18 an ounce over spot. Some a little bit lower, some higher, but on average around $18 over spot around March, April of last year. Today, you can get these for $4 an ounce over spot or so if you look around. The sovereign silver, the other countries, for example, Australia, the kangaroos, you can find these for under $3, maybe $2.90, maybe $2.80, maybe better. And same goes for the absolutely gorgeous Britannia with all of its amazing security features. Now, the beauty of sovereign silver, especially silver eagles, is that when you go to sell these silver coins, and by the way, these are officially coins as opposed to generic rounds like the buffaloes, you tend to get a higher premium for these. So for example, if you were to walk into a shop today with a silver eagle and a 1 ounce silver buffalo, in most cases, I know there are some exceptions, but in most cases, you are going to get more for your American silver eagle because they do hold a higher premium when you go to sell them back. That is not something that can be said for buffaloes. In fact, in my most recent coin shop call video, I found shops offering me $2 an ounce over spot for eagles where I couldn't find a single shop offering me over spot for rounds, and many of them were actually paying 50 cents or more back of spot for 1 ounce silver rounds. So these sovereign silver coins, even the Brits and the kangaroos, are generally going to get a higher premium than a buffalo when you go to sell them back to a coin shop. And the same can be said if you were to go and sell them on your own. Like, for example, if you were to sell them online, you would generally get more for the sovereign coins. So with the premiums being down, sovereign silver is back on the table for me, whereas middle of last year, it certainly was not. So going on to the types that I am not stacking right now because the premiums have dropped, and you're probably wondering why looking at the screen, is big silver bars. Now, the premiums on silver bars have absolutely plummeted as well. There's no question about it. In fact, kilo bars you can get pretty darn cheap. But it no longer makes sense to me to continue to stack heavy bars that aren't easily divisible when the premiums on 90% on rounds and eagles, like I said earlier, have dropped so much. So for me, even though it would cost me a little bit less to buy 1 kilo bar than it would to be, say, 32 1 ounce rounds, which, by the way, I say that because a kilo is 32 ounces roughly. The reason I would rather buy the rounds is because let's say I needed to sell just a little bit of my silver. I don't need to sell 32 ounces. Let's say I only need to sell 5. Well, I can't do that with the kilo bar, can I? No. But with the rounds, I could take 5 of them and keep the other 27 in my stack. If I were to sell an entire kilo and then take out the money that I needed and then put the rest of the money back in the silver, I would take a loss on the weight of my silver stack by doing so over just having sold 5 1 ounce rounds. So right now, while the premiums are down, I've moved away from stacking these big heavy bars and into stacking the smaller and more easily divisible types of silver like rounds, sovereign, and 90%. All right, now another type of silver that I am staying away from or even actively avoiding during low premium times right now, and this is going to sound very contradictory to what I just said about divisibility, is 40% silver Kennedys like these right here, and 35% war nickels. Now, I said it's going to sound contradictory because divisibility is key, right? But when the premiums were really high, we're talking, the $18 to $20 an ounce over spot for silver eagles. We're talking over $20 an ounce over spot for 90% silver, so on and so forth. This stuff right here was really cheap. And so I was looking for it. And if I found really good deals, I was picking it up just so I could continue to add silver to my stack. Now, the issue with this stuff is, though, and by the way, I found some great deals, middle of 2023 when, like I said, silver eagles were sky high, you could find this stuff close to spot, like $1 over, maybe. It was crazy. Nobody really increased the premiums of 40% at the time. Some did, but most didn't. But the reason I'm staying away from this now is because, unfortunately, this stuff is not very desirable. In fact, if you were to sell this to a coin shop today, you would get way back of melt for both war nickels and for 40% silver. You get way back of melt. You get back of melt farther than rounds, so on and so forth. And the reason for that is that when these are scrapped, if these are sold off to refiners to be refined into pure silver, you got to remember that a war nickel is only 35% silver. The majority of this nickel right here is copper and manganese. And then your 40% silver Kennedy, only 40% of it's silver. The other 60% is copper. So it takes them a lot more resources and energy and chemicals, if you will, to refine the silver out of this stuff if they were to actually refine it into 999 pure silver. And for that reason, your big smelting companies, your big wholesalers pay way less for it because they know that the cost involved to refine this stuff is so much higher. So for that reason, there's not a whole lot of people interested in this stuff right now. And you can actually find, I've seen 40% selling for spot or less very recently, but even with those numbers, I'm just staying away from it because silver rounds at under 2 that you can find sometimes, 90%, like I said, at 18 or less, finding that stuff, in my opinion, is just a better deal because it is so much easier to sell on the other side. So for that reason, I am actively avoiding 40% and 35% war nickels. That's not to say if I didn't find incredible deals, I wouldn't buy them. I absolutely would, but I'm not actively out looking for this stuff anymore. So the last type of silver I want to talk about today that I'm buying less of right now is collectible, also known as Semi-Numi silver. What this is lower mintage, higher premium silver coins that, to be honest, generally you don't actually stack this stuff, but rather you collect it. So for example, this is a collection of my Alien series right here from the Intaglio Mint. I only have one of each of these. I don't have 5 or 10 of each. When I go out and buy something like this, I don't buy them by the tube. I don't buy 20 or 40 of them at a time like I would a Buffalo. I just buy one of each design and I keep them in my collection. So if I see something really cool that's coming out, so for example, I just bought these, the 1 ounce silver Zombuk series. The new ones are coming out. We have the Kookaburra, we have the Kangaroo, we have the Pandemonium. I'll buy one of each of these for my collection, but I won't go out and buy 20 of them at once because I don't stack these. I collect those and I like keeping these as a collection. But that being said, I am certainly buying less of this stuff, not because I love it any less. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely do. But the reason I'm buying less of this is because I'm taking advantage, like I've already talked about and already said like 10 times in the video probably, I'm taking advantage of these low premiums. And so if I'm going to put some money into silver right now while the premiums are low, right now while spot prices are low, I'm taking advantage of that by just buying more silver. So I'm buying more things like Buffaloes, I'm buying more things like Eagles, I'm buying more things like 90% and less of this because unfortunately, I am not rich. I do not have unlimited money, so I have to pick and choose where I'm putting my money, and I'm still buying some stuff. These I recently just bought, for example, but I'm certainly buying less of it right now while I can take advantage of those low premiums. All right, so there you go, guys. That is 3 types of silver I am stacking more of and 3 types of silver I am stacking less of because today's lower premiums. If you like this video, like I said earlier, don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps YouTube share this video with others and helps us continue to grow. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.